welcome back to Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank. Okay, guys, tonight, Charlie Kirk again, creating scandal, in my opinion, and you guys could decide for yourself what you guys think. Maybe I'm crazy, but Charlie Kirk is having his big conservative events, some kind of a woman's leadership conference, which is interesting in and of itself. Okay, I won't get into that, but one of the speakers he's having is a porn star, a gal who was very popular on OnlyFans, and apparently she has rejected the porn life and had a reformation of sorts or a conversion to Christianity, and now she is apparently clean. From my understanding, a year, 10 months, a year and a half, something like that. And she's had an awakening with her conversion. She's married now. And now she's kind of making her circuit across social media, explaining, to people about her conversion and how porn is bad and she's been reformed and all this stuff. Okay, fine. Listen, I'm not going to mention the young lady's name because I just think it causes too much scandal and too much temptation. If this young lady has had a true conversion to the Christian faith, I am overwhelmingly thrilled. I am happy for her. God bless her, and I hope she finds peace and joy in this life, and in serving the Lord. I hope she gets her act together, and I hope she heals mostly. Right, that's the most important thing, is that she heals from a turbulent sort of lifestyle that she once lived. That being said, I'm just not sure that Charlie Kirk and his organization, Turning Point USA, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'm not sure that they should be promoting young ladies that were former porn stars. Now, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to set this big example and of these women that can be reformed, and there may be some good intentions there, but the problem is that when you commit a sin like pornography, something that is so public, especially with the type of technology we have now, where these images will be on the internet forever, you are really forever going to create scandal wherever you go. Now, they may not be completely fair, but it is what it is because of our fallen nature. Imagine this young lady walking out to this podium in this conference, wherever it's taking place. I don't know. And the temptation by her appearance by every 15, 16-year-old boy that has a phone, whether it's in the audience or whether it's at home or wherever it is, it's being televised or shown. There's going to be an immediate temptation for many young men to look her up. And it's not just men that are nefarious in regards to their attitudes about pornography, but even good men will be tempted. They will be scandalized. This is the problem here. And then, of course, it isn't fair for the men in the audience that are married. It isn't fair to the women in the audience that are there. Because guess what? She will be running through the minds of every man in that place because of the temptation that she brings here and because of what she has done in her past. There's no way to escape this. I think for this young lady, like I said, if she's had a true conversion, the best thing for her is to live a quiet life of penance and prayer. That's what this takes now. This is how a true Christian would react to this scenario if she's had this conversion. But to present yourself now as a social influencer on the right, it's a big problem because of what she's done in her past. And again, for Charlie Kirk to bring her on, what's this say for the conservative movement now? Right? Hey, you've done porn in the past. You've reformed your life. You left. You're Christian now. Hey, come on in. We're going to give you notoriety. We're going to put you on the conservative influencer, circuit across the country. You're going to be able to make a brand for yourself and become popular and famous. Is this what conservatism now proposes? Is this what conservatism is? Is to promote young ladies that have porn and elevate them and put them on the conservative, influencer circuit all of a sudden? I'm sorry, this is a major problem. It's a major problem all the way around. Again, this young lady just needs to live a quiet life of prayer and penance. That's what true Christians would do. This is how we dealt with major sin in the old world when actually Christianity worked, when Christianity was a great influence on society, and when Christendom actually built healthy societies. And so, and listen, I confirmed this with several friends of mine. I said, guys, listen, maybe I'm wrong here. What does this mean? What happens the moment this young lady steps on stage? Okay. And the response was all the same from the men that I talked to. The first thing is going to be the temptation to look her up on Google. Just Google it because we have effectively free porn now in the society. It's all it takes is a few clicks of a few buttons on your keyboard or your phone, and here are these images of this young lady, and the men will be tempted to to go look at these scenes. And I'm not saying all men are going to do it. I'm not saying that men can't um, avoid this temptation. Many men will, but many men will be tempted, and many men will fall for this, especially if they're in private. So I just think what Charlie Kirk is doing here is very, very scandalous. I think it opens a bad door for the conservative movement. I think it's bad for Turning Point USA. I think it's bad for this young lady because the problem here is now we're celebrating her porn career. Well, let me take that back. We're celebrating the fact that she's on stage because she's a former porn star. She's getting rewarded with social media influence, being able to expand her brand because she used to have sex on camera with lots of different men. Is this the signal that we want to send young ladies? You want to become a big social influencer? Go have sex with a bunch of men on camera, and then we'll just bring you into the fold and put you as part of the lineup, the conservative movement circuit lineup across social media. We're going to reward you. I mean, am I wrong, guys? Tell me. Am I wrong? I don't know. And to me, again, this just it goes in line with lots of problems that I have with Charlie Kirk and lots of mistakes that Charlie Kirk, who claims he's an evangelical Christian, that he continues to make. I found a video last week of Charlie Kirk where he was at some conference speaking back in 2019, and he was on stage with a black man who was a gay conservative, apparently. And, they were butting up on stage. And this is part, of course, of the Republican Party big tent. Bring everybody in, bring in the log cabin Republicans, bring in the libertarians, bring in, whatever it is you need to bring in order to win the next election, because that's all they're focused on. We got to win the next election because the dastardly Republicans, or should I say, the dastardly Democrats are going to destroy America, right? Doesn't matter that conservatives continue to lose the war. They may win a few battles, but they always lose the war at the end of the day. But what was interesting about this event was that Charlie Kirk had a question from the audience while he was sitting up there next to this gay Republican. And the conservative happened to be Catholic, Rosary and said, Charlie, isn't this a problem when we have, well, basically gays infiltrating the conservative movement, when they're just being made part of the platform and being part of, again, being part of conservative movement? Isn't this a problem? Where do we hold the line on this LGBT issue? And what was fascinating about it was Charlie Kirk took the time to ridicule the Christians that had a concern about the infiltration of the LGBT community within the conservative movement. He, of course, backed up his buddy, gave him a pat on the back, and looked at the Christian, the Catholic with rosary in hand, saying, "You're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you got to get your life together, stop thinking the way you're thinking." But Charlie, that's a fair question. It's a fair question. And that is, should the conservative movement embrace the LGBT community? Is that conservatism now? Because it is a problem. Now, if gay people like the Republican Party platform, they like, okay, I was gonna say limited government, even though conservatives have never been able to limit government. But let's just take the mythical values of the Republican Party, right? Limited government, small government, you do you, I do me. Okay, tax cuts, let's all make the money in America, right? This is what the right believes is basically a giant, capitalist, system to make all the billionaires happy. That's what the Republican Party is. Let's be honest here, okay? But let's say, for the sake of argument, that the gays accept those principles. Well, nobody's going to question you at the voting booth. Gays can come in and vote any way they want. If they want their tax cuts, if they want limited government, and all things conservatives believe. But do we have to celebrate the movement? Do we have to celebrate the lifestyle and make it part of the conservative movement? Because I don't know what conservatism is anymore at this point, right? They've given up on abortion. They've given up on gay marriage. They've given up on, again, bringing, embracing the LGBT ideology. They've given up on contraception. They've given up on, on all these social issues and many fiscal issues as well too. What is the conservative movement in America other than an ideology built to support the billionaire class? That's what conservatism has always been. Yet you got to fool the idiots at the bottom, right, to believe that cutting taxes and limited government, these ideological premises that go all the way back to the founding of America that make us the greatest nation in history of the world. These are all principles that the billionaire oligarchical class has always wanted. You just got to trick the people at the bottom to believe this message, even though a lot of these issues don't trickle down all the way to the bottom. This is why we have a massive underclass in America, and that divide gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But the point is, going back, is that Charlie Kirk took the time to pat his gay buddy on the back. And I'm not saying, Charlie Kirk could be friends with whatever he wants. And I'm not saying that gay people should be persecuted in any kind of way. Everybody deserves human dignity. But in the cause of the conservative movement and the basic philosophical principles by which it governs by, Charlie Kirk took the time to pat his gay friend on the back and tell that Christian audience, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, and you're a bad person. You need to rethink your position, rethink your heart and your mind and your soul, because there's something wrong with you. There's something dark and sinister and evil in your mind that you haven't embraced this idea of the big tent that the LGBT community within the ranks of the conservative movement is just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's another Tuesday, right? Right? And so it goes back again to many scandals. And see, it's if we're to believe that Charlie Kirk is sincere in his evangelical faith, right? And I kind of believe it and I kind of don't, because Charlie Kirk has a lot of close ties to the Israel cause, which makes me question a few things. I won't get into it now because I don't have enough proof, but I have my suspicions. Let's put it that way, right? But again, let's assume we take his evangelical beliefs on face value. This goes again to the basic notion of the screw up that Protestantism is and the subjective morality based upon sola scriptura and the lack of authority, a lack of, again, religious cohesion. Because Charlie Kirk here is picking and choosing his morality. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it never would have been even thought of to embrace the LGBT agenda within the conservative movement. But now that they're getting their asses handed to them, right? They keep losing the war on the right? After the Oberfeld decision, hey, well, we got to accept it now. We got to accept it. And this is why the conservative movement continues to surrender on social issues. And they've become a party of what? Fiscal responsibility and limited government. We don't even get that from the political right. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? And so, in his desperation, like a lot of conservatives I know, in order to win that next election, to get over that finish line, to make sure the dastardly Democrats don't win, the far left progressives, and I would agree, the far left progressives are a big problem, without a doubt. They always have to surrender their values. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, this is what democracy forces us to do, right? The will of the people. Well, what if the people are broken? What if the will of the people has been, what do you want to say, disordered because of the times we live in, because of the social ramifications of liberalism? Well, guess what? You have to adopt with the will of the people. That's why the will of the people can't ever determine truth. That's why the will of the people can never be allowed to determine the laws of the land, especially when it comes to natural law and the moral law. That's the prerogative of the church. Oh, but we don't have that in America. And you wonder why everything's gone batshit crazy? since the 1960s? What's happened with this complete moral breakdown throughout the period of the sexual revolution? And what is the answer for conservatives? They just surrender. Well, we'll uphold the moral issue as long as it's viable at the polls. But as we've seen with abortion and gay marriage and contraception and pornography, those are all off the table because we have a completely morally disordered society, and they can no longer defend those without losing the next election, right? So what good is the conservative movement? It's not. It's worthless. And Charlie Kirk is causing scandal. He's causing one scandal after another because he has to kind of, play this pendulum game about what is right, what is wrong versus what's it going to take to win the next election. And bringing on porn stars that would scandalize young men, married men, women, everybody in that audience. I'm sorry, guys. I think it's a big problem. I, I just do. It's a big problem, and I think Kirk has to be called out on it. That's my opinion on it. I know some people are going to say I'm a prude. Oh, get over it. Times have changed. But this is precisely the problem with the Republican Party. This is precisely the problem with the conservative movement. They never uphold any standards, especially when it comes to the moral issues, because most of them are Protestants now. And again, within the realm of Protestantism, there's no definitive doctrine. Everything is malleable. Everything is subjective. Everything is relative at the end of the day. And Kirk is the perfect example of the failures of Protestantism globally. This is why every Protestant nation in the history of the world has liberalized at a rapid pace, an unbelievably rapid pace. And it's been the Protestant nations historically that have brought about the new liberal world order that we're all suffering through today. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. This is Frank, signing off, frankly speaking. Good night, everybody.